I'm Juliet Harris, Director of Together, Scottish Alliance for Children's Rights. I'm here to talk to you about the steps you can take to support children and young people whose rights are most at risk. The right to non-discrimination, UNCRC Article 2, includes the right for all children and young people to have all the rights set out in the UNCRC and asserts that no child should be discriminated against. It's essential that Article 2 is taken into account when thinking about any of the other rights in the UNCRC. Discrimination includes both direct and indirect discrimination. Direct discrimination might occur if a school refuses to accept a disabled child. Indirect discrimination might include situations like school trips being conditional on good attendance records, potentially discriminating against disabled children or young carers. Both direct and indirect discrimination are explicitly prohibited by both the UNCRC and the Equality Act of 2010. The Equality Act includes specific protected characteristics, which are age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex, and sexual orientation. UNCRC Article 2 includes protection from any discrimination arising from a child or parents or carers' colour, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national, ethnic or social origin, property, disability, birth, or other status. Other status could include living in poverty, being a young carer, or any other circumstance that puts a child's rights at risk. To support infants, children, and young people whose rights are at risk, it is essential that they're involved and their views are taken into account at every stage. Another important aspect of protecting children whose rights are at risk is through data collection and monitoring. Unless we know which groups of children and young people are most likely to be disproportionately or negatively affected by a decision, we can't effectively address their needs. A children's human rights approach means identifying those children and young people whose rights are at risk and working with them and their families to understand the impact of decisions on them. We need to continually check that our actions have protected and respected their rights and adapt our approaches as necessary. We've worked with Together members to create some top tips on what we should all be doing to identify and address where children's rights are most at risk. These tips include shaping data collection by what needs to be known rather than what data is available, but do use what is available where it suits. Developing collaborative approaches to data collection, analysis, and monitoring, which include children. Ensuring data builds a comprehensive picture with children and young people's views and experiences expressed in their own words, as well as quantitative data. Using children's rights indicators to analyse data. Sharing resources and toolkits that challenge discriminatory practices. Utilising networks to promote anti-stigma and discrimination training. Using spaces which children and adults regularly use to raise awareness of how to challenge discrimination. And being mindful of language to avoid compounding negative attitudes and stigma. This resource was developed as part of the Children's Rights Skills and Knowledge Framework project funded by Scottish Government. Also available in this series, Child Rights Budgeting, Child Rights Impact Assessments. Visit the Together website for more information, www.togetherscotland.org.uk. Together, the Scottish Alliance for Children's Rights is a Scottish charitable incorporated organisation, SCIO. Charity number SCO 29403. Credit to UNICEF for simplified UNCRC article images.